Okay, so Bill won't be able to make it tonight, so I'm gonna run tonight's meeting. Does anyone have any questions on any of the agenda items?
Kyle, excuse me, is the meeting being recorded?
It is. We are live on YouTube.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Just going down the list, 5B is our, for introduction, 5B is our HUD funding, the Community Development Block Grant funding that we normally get. Does anyone have any questions on that? I know Eileen Cipriani will be coming into our caucus next week, and we'll also be having a public hearing on this next week, to answer any questions we might have or that arise out of the public hearing. Nothing?
No, nothing at this time.
Then 5C is designating 3rd Avenue a one-way from Elm to Broadway. We're doing this in hopes of alleviating some of the issues the residents have been having on 3rd Ave with regards to truck traffic. So now they'll only be dealing with it going one way instead of both ways. The ultimate fix is, as we said before, the replacement of the Elm Street Bridge. But that's still a couple of years down the road. So at least this should give them, some relief from that. Anyone have any questions on that one?
Yes, I do. I think they were also looking into perhaps alternative pathways for that one business that's down there. So did they find another? Is this like their solution, or are there going to be other things coming?
So this is the solution for now. I mean, we are at the end of the winter now too, so at least some of that traffic that results in salt deliveries won't be as much. And really, there really isn't any alternative routes, especially because there's already a truck ban on the books for Railroad Avenue and technically Broadway up until the bridge. So, and I think there's also some issues then up that viaduct there too, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
In terms of where trucks could go.
I don't think they would never be able to make up that viaduct. Cars have trouble navigating that.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the back of the property, Jess, it's landlocked with railroad tracks essentially. So you'd have to somehow, get a bridge over the railroad tracks, which obviously isn't a good short-term fix. So really the best solution is to see if there's any way to expedite the repairs or the replacement of the Elm Street Bridge. And I know that the mayor had indicated that she was willing to do some outreach to the state legislator to see if we could prioritize this project. That's really this will provide hopefully some minor relief, but it's really not gonna cure the problem for those folks on 3rd Avenue.
So this will help to, the trucks will still be able to use it in one direction, but it'll cut it down by half because they won't be going back and forth as much. Is my understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what it seems. And Kyle, you went over there, and did you go over, or did Bill go over and meet with them?
Yeah, and Bill was in touch with when we first thought about this, was in touch with the neighbors down there, and they were all good with this solution for the time being.
So how are the trucks getting to the salt plant if they can't?
So they could still go over Elm Street. Empty trucks don't have weight restrictions for or don't meet that weight restriction for the Elm Street Bridge.
That's right.
That loaded trucks do. So it sort of forces them to go that way and sort of do a loop instead of just getting in of going down Broadway, going down 3rd all the way, and then coming back 3rd. So they're not getting hit twice with them.
Does anyone remember when they were estimating that the Elm Street Bridge would be repaired? Was that 3 years or?
Yeah, so it's design phase. So it's more than likely going to be 24 by the time it's, completed, the project is completed fully, they're you're not going to get PennDOT really to move any quicker, in terms of their process with these, because it is a part of a bigger package that, it's like first phase, one's on North Main Avenue, a bridge, and what else was it? Parker Street and Lackawanna or Linden, one of those.
Greenridge Street.
Greenridge Street. That's a part of the package of the first, sort of partnership between the city and PennDOT in terms of fixing our bridges. I mean, there's still a lot more that are on that list that need to be fixed, but
Yeah, Parker Street's
hopefully
been,
we get some relief from the infrastructure bill
Right.
for some of those issues.
Parker Street's been on the list, sir. It's been down to one lane for quite some time, and that one that's under Main Avenue there by Alpha Street is,
Yeah.
Is in need of repair.
And, you did bring up Parker Street. That was something that we also discussed, because Parker Street's a one-way and it has lights on both sides of the bridge.
Right.
So you could go both ways, but you're only going one way at once. That's a way to get around, those weight restrictions where you could have put the trucks down, but that would have created a whole different issue on Elm Street compared to Parker Street.
Right. There's a much more, a much larger traffic volume, I'd say, on Elm Street than there is on Parker.
Yes.
Be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes. And then realistically then too, you'd just be creating more issues for the neighbors because they'd have more traffic
Right.
trying to avoid that then.
Right.
So that wasn't really a viable option.
Right. They'd be backed up at
Yeah,
all
the
hours.
Heritage Trail too. That'd be a mess.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a good point. That's a real popular parking spot for the Heritage Trail too. So
Anything else on that one? Okay. And then just the only other thing to note is we're going to table 7A. Me and Tom are going to meet with PennDOT and the neighbor who we got the complaint from regarding the parking. So we think we could, come to an agreement on that issue where they won't lose the two parking spots, and PennDOT's going to make a little adjustment in their design, but we're meeting with them tomorrow. So we're just going to table that just until that gets resolved. Any other questions for any other of the?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. So on item 7B, which we'll have the final vote on tonight, I just wanted to note that there will be a couple of amendments. that
Yes.
I'm making to that. The first one is the title. So the title's it was incorrect. It's not going to be creating a chapter in the Home Rule Charter. It's going to be adding to the administrative code. And then there was just a couple of changes in the definition of conversion therapy in the legislation. And that was a suggestion made to me by some national folks who deal with these pieces of legislation very often, and just so that there's no confusion there. And we just wanted to make the piece of legislation as strong as possible. So that's the reason that you'll see those amendments tonight.
Does that, I mean, when we were taking a look at the legislation for the sign, does it tighten it up a little bit to, not keep us as open? I mean, I know the argument with the sign was it was too broad. Is that what, I didn't really get a chance to see I had a problem with Granicus, so I didn't get a chance to see the changes, but is it narrowing it down a little bit, or what's the reasoning?
are you talking about 7B, Tom?
Yeah, for the changes in 7B.
So the definition, Jess, you want me to speak to that?
That's fine.
So, okay, so for 7B, it really is Dr. Rothchild got some comments on experts in the field who indicated that our definition just could be, it was just a reshuffling of the words so that it couldn't be interpreted in a way that would make it less effective. So the counselor from that organization walked me through the rationale behind it, and it made sense. So we changed it. It basically, it's essentially the same definition. It just is, it's worded in a manner that would be more effective in enforcement.
Yeah, so there were no other changes than that. Everything else is essentially staying the same.
Okay. Lori, do you have anything?
Thank you, Kyle. No, I do not.
Kevin?
Kyle, with regard to another concern you had raised at last week's meeting on us now passing another ordinance, sending the one way back in the other direction, and the fact that we'll have an existing ordinance on the books, which is now will be obsolete. I reworded that. I sent it over to you and to Lori so just take a look at it, see if that works for you. What it essentially says is we repeal the prior legislation and replace it with this one instead of us restarting the clock on this whole ordinance. I reworded it, and so just take a look at it and see if that works for you.
Okay. Yeah, and really my concern there is just simplifying what we have on the books, so that, the average citizen could go on, look something up and read it and not have to go through, X amount of chapters and, here's what it was, then it's amended to this, which is the complete opposite.
So Lori, can't we, when you're submitting it for codification, can we just say that file of council number, whatever it was, just put next to it repealed? So that, in other words, so it never even makes its way into the code?
Mm-hmm. I'll look into that with general code to be sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's in sixth order, so we still have another week for that.
Right.
It's not the same with the maintenance agreement, because that's just the agreement between us and the
Right.
county. It's not an ordinance on the books.
Right, and I went through that, and if we modify the resolution, or if we modify the ordinance, it's not going to affect that agreement.
Yeah. Okay.
Did we reach out to any of the neighbors, like we said we in that area?
I did not.
I did, so there was just the one, I believe, that had initial concerns, but those concerns were in the,
There were parking spaces.
yeah, and those were because we amended that to make the changes to accommodate them, right, Kev? In
Yep.
The first one.
Yep.
So yeah, so they're still in there. It's just because the only amendment is changing the direction.
Right, and this is all predicated on a request by the county. So,
Yeah.
but we
And I
can,
mean, too, at this point, if we have to start it over, we start it over just to get it right. I mean, it wasn't right the first time when it was
Right.
sent to us. So what's the rush?
right, well, they're eager, I know, to get it through, but
At the same time, we just have to make sure we're
yeah, so take a
doing
look
it
at
in
it.
the most efficient manner on our end. But yes, I will take a look
Yeah.
at that.
And that's really the only thing I had on as far as the agenda is concerned.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything just of general concern?
I had two things. One, Kevin, you did get a follow-up from Mr. O'Brien. We asked about the RFQ process with the Meadowbrook project. And I feel like I did get an email or something from you saying he responded. Did he respond on that one?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Lori,
And then,
did you get anything, Lori, on that? An RFQ regarding the RFQs for the Meadowbrook project for the attorneys who would be involved in it?
I did not. No.
Anything?
and then street sweeping. Is there a schedule? Does anybody know offhand? If it's
So, yeah, so there isn't a schedule. They're trying something new this year where they're going to try to make it coincide with, your garbage day, where that's going to be the day they're in your neighborhood. I know in the past few years, they did a neighborhood schedule where they went, this section this week, then, but the problem with that, and in talking with Tom Priambo, I agree with his assessment of this is then sometimes, it's not until September, when some neighborhoods get their street sweep, where the street sweeper comes through. And by that point, really what is the point? But I think moving forward, we have to start looking into ways to do some form of alternate side of the street parking. Because I know I did notice that a couple of weeks ago, they did Pittston Avenue, but you see it going in and out, and then 3 days later, it looks like it did before they went through. But they're trying something new out this year to try to hit areas, multiple times throughout the year. And I know, in past years, we only had one street sweeper on the streets where now we have 3. So that's more of a help, but, I still don't think it's really enough manpower really to do it, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I remember the scheduling, and I knew something had changed. It was a little different this time around. I did get a couple phone calls today saying, hey, the street sweeper came through. If we had known that it was coming through today, we would have moved our cars. We moved cars
Yes.
back and thinking maybe they'd come back through, but they never came back around.
Yeah, and I think that's a discussion we need to have going forward about what's the best way to do that, whether it's, either alternate side of the street parking, certain days of the month, or if it's even just some sort of notification system like, hey, we're going to do, the odd sides this week and the even sides the next week or something where people know to, if they could, to not park in front of, on that side of the street when the street sweeper's coming through. But
yeah, from what I got today, that's kind of, I think something like that would have been effective when it came to it.
I agree.
I agree, because last Friday my street sweep, and it didn't sweep away any cinders or gravel in the gutter. It just went up the street. So how they have the new schedule, which I love for the garbage pickup and recycling and cardboard. Maybe we, or administration, improves on that schedule and includes street sweeping, whether it's, odd day with paper or cardboard or whatever. They can figure that out.
Yeah.
But if I had it, and where I have my my chart now, knowing when they're coming, or for clarity, maybe that I think more people would be receptive to that and have a better understanding when and where and how and why.
Yeah, I agree. The only problem with it is sticking to that strict schedule is it gets screwed up with weather, or if it's raining, or so that's why, even going back to how they did the neighborhoods, it would even get screwed up because 1 week it might have rained 3 days, so they didn't get the previous week what was scheduled done. And but we definitely do need a better system, and that's why even some form of notification system where you could send alerts out to certain neighborhoods saying it's going to be in your neighborhood this day, or so then you could still be flexible in terms of weather, but not but still letting people know when they're going to be in your neighborhood.
All right, maybe I'll send out an email later just to get the topic in the discussion starting.
Anyone have anything else? All right, we'll take a little break until our meeting at 6:30 then. Sorry, I think I had a problem with my sound there. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Present.
Mr. McAndrew,
President?
Dr. Rothchild,
Here.
Mr. Donahue,
Here.
Mr. Gaughan.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to.
Second.
On the question, President Gaughan had a previous commitment and couldn't make it tonight, so I'll be running the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Okay, I'd like to make another motion. I would like to make a motion to table item 7A, file of council number 60, 2021.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to table item 7A. On the question? On the question, we're just tabling this for a week. Myself and Councilman Schuster have a meeting with some residents that had some concerns about some of the no parking for a new signal on Orm and Main Avenue. So we're going to have that meeting tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have this back next week. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved. Dispense with the reading of the minutes.
Thank you. Third order, 3A, minutes of the Composite Pension Board meeting held February 17, 2021. 3B, check receipt from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania dated March 16, 2021 in the amount of $2,156,905.33 for payment of municipal liquid fuels. 3C, Single Tax Office, City Funds Distributed Comparison Report 2020-2021, year-to-date March 31, 2021. 3D, Naog Park Swimming Pool Feasibility Study presented to Scranton City Council on March 30, 2021 by MKSD Architects. 3E, correspondence sent to Mayor Paige G. Cognetti dated March 30, 2021 regarding appointment of police chief.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have a quick one. So our friends over in Southside, the Southside Revitalization Committee are going to have a neighborhood cleanup event. When is it? It's going to be Sunday, April 18th. Where? Cedar Avenue. Free supplies will be at the Southside Farmers Market. To get involved, you can email HYOR-CONIS, K-O-N-I-S, at uncnepa.org. That is all I have.
The only thing I have is just a reminder that garbage and recycling pickup is a day late this week due to the holiday.
I have one, also a cleanup, which will happen over in Pine Brook. It's a community cleanup over at Sweeney's Beach. That's going to be held Saturday, April 24th at 10 a.m. And that's being hosted, I believe, by the UNC United Neighborhood Center. So you can probably find more information through them.
Thank you. Ms. Reed?
Fourth order, citizens' participation.
At this time, would someone please make a motion to accept public comment from the following individuals: Al Young, Faye Franis, Janet Wenzel.
I'll make a motion to accept public comment.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to accept public comment. Ms. Reed, please read the comments into the record.
Thank you. The first submission is from Albert and Elaine Young as follows. To the members of Scranton Administration and Scranton City Council, we would like a real explanation or reason as to why, no more excuses, lies, or the proverbial political football runaround as to why the city has not allowed the contractor to finish the work here in our yard. This part is of the contract. It is not litigation or the fact that DEP may be working on a project. Now, there is a religious anthem with words that state, and I quote, "It is well in my soul," unquote. This is not well in our soul, due to the fact that the city hired a contractor to perform a temporary repair to our property. The contractor did in fact perform much of what the contract called for, but the city has held back on allowing work to be finished. The contractor would like to finish this project so that we are pleased with his work and that he can get paid. The work that was performed has left a big mess, a muddy gravel piece of land, which is not acceptable. The contractor removed his equipment going on 28 months ago, and we have had to put up with your excuses. The city administration advertises that they want to be transparent, but in the long run, all they have done is put on blackout glasses. It is time to remove them and get the work completed. There is a difference between litigation and obligation. It is time to open your eyes and get with the project and finalize it. We know that DEP is working on a permanent repair, but their work has been in progress for 20 or more years, and the latest stats that were quoted are that it may be another 3, 5, or even 10 years before they reach some kind of working program. We think this is very unfair to be held hostage for a want-to-be solution that some dreamer has put into play. I did speak with the former city official that did in fact walk our yard some 30 years ago, and the statement was that it is totally out of context to be held up this long. POTUS states that by the 4th of July of this year, we all should be holding picnics in our backyards. Guess he was wrong, because it looks like we will still be hostages. There has only been one city official to tour the yards in the last 29 months, which really tells us that because it is not in our yards, then we do not care about you. At this point in life, someone had better step up and do something and finish what was started. It certainly has gone on much too long. The city has found time and money for other things. Now we think it is time to find the time to finish what you started. We really do not care if and when a permanent repair is made, that all of this must be torn back up. We just want to see grass and pavement instead of mud. The second submission is from Faye Franis as follows. Council, would you consider seriously having a referendum put on the November ballot asking the citizens of Scranton if they want to get rid of the Home Rule Charter? It has been decades since the Home Rule Charter has been put in place, and I believe it is time to get rid of the Home Rule Charter. The citizens of Scranton have not benefited at all from having the Home Rule Charter. One of the benefits of doing away with the Home Rule Charter would be that the city could no longer keep taxing its citizens as they have been for decades. There are plenty of other advantages as well. Right now, I need to know from you how you feel about doing this. Why not let the citizens decide? After all, you are supposed to be representing us. We should have a say in this important matter. Please reply to this with your reasoning. We need to know if you truly do represent us or your own agenda. And the third and final submission from Mrs. Janet Wenzel. This is a major traffic problem in Scranton. It keeps customers away from city businesses. The detours throughout the hill section today caused me to ask, number one, Birch Street closed many years. When will the project be finished? Number two, Elm Street cut last year makes this other South Scranton Street dangerous, avoiding oncoming traffic, ambulances, and long, large cut potholes. Number three, Main Avenue, UGI work through to June. No other project should be allowed. Number four, stoplight replacement necessary at Cedar and Elm. Number five, streetlights on Harrison Avenue Bridge, out since February, a beautiful entrance to Scranton. Number six, repair stonework at the Lookout. Another beautiful spot to enter Scranton is a mess. And that is all, Council.
On the question? On the question, beginning with Mr. Young, didn't we request to see if they would go out and plant that grass? And they said they were going to look into that in terms of, so they didn't have to look at mud. I know it's not a long-term fix to the complete issue, but
Yeah,
I believe we did. And they said they were going to look into, the administration said they were going to look into ways to.
yeah, that was something that was discussed a couple of weeks ago. I think there's a little bit more than just planting grass. I do think there's I'd say probably a couple truckloads of dirt and maybe a 6 by 40 piece of asphalt, something like that. But it doesn't seem like it would be too much to get.
So I know they did say that, so we'll pass those along. In terms of Ms. Franis's comments, in my opinion, I think it's more complicated than that. When you get into state tax enabling law, it really doesn't matter whether you're a home rule charter or not. We're still dealing with tax enabling legislation hasn't been changed since the late 60s, when Pennsylvania was more, city, wealth was more concentrated in cities and there wasn't as much sprawl, but that's a completely other issue. So I really don't think that, whether we're a home rule charter city or not really solves our issue on that front. And in terms of Mrs. Wenzel's comments, the first one on Birch Street, I believe that is open now for some traffic. Full restoration won't be complete until the end of April. That was the last update we got, but we will check on that. We have been keeping an eye on that. And Elm Street is the reason that's such in bad shape is because of Birch Street, because they have to close down Elm Street to finish the work because they have to bore a hole under the railroad tracks. So that will be closed for 2 weeks once Birch Street is fully reopened, and then Elm Street will be fully restored as well. And in terms of the other ones, we'll pass those along. I agree, with the stoplight replacement at Cedar and Elm. Wasn't aware of the streetlights on Harrison Avenue, but we'll look into that. And I believe we did send something on repairing the stonework at the Lookout a couple months back, but we'll look into that too. Anybody else?
Just to add another thing, the stonework up at the Lookout, is that a WPA project?
I believe it was.
I think with that, just to throw it out there may be, funding available or some kind of funding available to preserve those projects.
Yes, I know we saw that somewhere in the last couple of months. I just have to search back, and I didn't get a chance to after we got this today, but we'll get into that too.
I know, looking back at that, like the Audubon School, the wall that was around the Audubon School was a works program from the WPA, and I felt like that should have been looked into a little bit before they pulled that down.
Anyone else? All those in favor of approving citizens' participation signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
The only comments I have, there was a couple properties that I had a few complaints about. I spoke to Lori before the meeting. I'm going to send them over. One on Cherry Street. We did get an email for 814 to 816, the apartment building on Luzerne Street, and there was another email that came to us about that property. It doesn't seem like anybody went out, possibly, and from what the email stated, just more garbage being piled up at that address. So I'll send an email about those two properties. Mr. McAndrew is going to speak about another property with St. Francis Cabrini. And does anybody know about what's going on Kaiser Avenue? I see that there's tree clearings there. I'd say probably like 2 to 3 acres. I had a resident inquire about that, and I plan on sending an email to get a little bit more information on what's happening over there. All right, so just I'll send the emails over to Lori and have them forwarded. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. McAndrew?
Yes, so last week I received a phone call from a concerned resident, and it's about a property. The property is 125, 127 North St. Francis Cabrini Avenue. Recently, there was a raid with the street crimes unit. They do a fantastic job. This complaint isn't about them. It's about the occupants of this home and the absent landlord. The neighbors are very concerned about their safety because there's there's a revolving door at this apartment building. They raided, some people get arrested, and then the same criminal element ends up being back in these apartments. So, and they reached out to me, and I don't have the answers, so that's why I'm going to ask the question. So I do know that after so many complaints on an apartment or a home where there's criminal activity, something can be done. I don't know what that is. So my question, Mrs. Reed, if you could please send correspondence to the police department and find these answers for me and the concerned residents on that street. So like, what's the next step? So this is occurring all the time. What is the actual process that prevents this from happening again? And how many complaints in a year does it take for something to happen? Is it 1? Is it 5? I don't know all these, but these are residents that live there their whole life. They love their neighborhood, but this just one piece of it, and this element is just continues to happen. I do know, I remember the Broadway bar. It was a horrible bar where a lot of criminal activity happened. And I know for a while, the cops would know where they were, so they kept it there so they could do their, focus on eliminating that bad element. But eventually that place was torn down. So there was a process for that. What's the process for this type of incident, behavior, or ongoing, threat to public safety? So that's all I have. Thank you.
Dr. Rothchild?
Yes, just want to mention real quick, because we were talking about some of the streetlights that need to be fixed. One did contact me over the weekend about the traffic light at the intersection of Alder and Cedar Avenue. So I had Lori reach out to Mr. Priambo from DPW, and that's now repaired. So if anyone else had a concern about that streetlight, that's taken care of. So thanks to our DPW workers for getting on that quickly.
Thank you. Yeah, the only thing I had too is I had also spoke to the same resident, Mark did, and I'm sure Tom did. I know he was just, concerned just about the situation with that. So if we could look into that, Lori, that should probably also go to Lips too, because I think they might be a part of, putting the declaration of a nuisance property or whatever it is on to, whatever on that property. And that's all I have too.
Thank you. 5B for introduction, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate officials of the city of Scranton to take all necessary actions to implement the HUD 2021 Annual Action Plan for Community Planning and Development Programs to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Emergency Solutions Grants Program for the period beginning January 1, 2021.
At this time, I will entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? On the question, a public hearing will be held on this item next week, April 13th at 5:45. And then after that, OEC Director Eileen Cipriani will be attending our caucus to discuss the 2021 action plan and to answer any questions we might have. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5C for introduction, an ordinance authorizing the city of Scranton to approve the designation of 3rd Avenue as one-way northbound from Elm Street to its intersection with Broadway Street, with the installation of 2 R5-1 do not enter signs at the intersection of 3rd Avenue and Broadway Street. R6-1L horizontal left one-way signs shall be installed at the intersections of 3rd Avenue and Regan Place, 3rd Avenue and Fellow Street, 3rd Avenue and Luzerne Street, and 3rd Avenue and Broadway Street, along with no parking designated on the easterly side of 3rd Avenue from Luzerne Street north to Broadway Street, and that 6 R8-3 no parking symbol signs, 4 with R-301 no parking arrow plaque, 1 with R-301 no parking left arrow plaque, and 1 with R-301 no parking right arrow plaque be installed under the direction of the city engineer to allow for improved access from 3rd Avenue onto Broadway Street.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second,
On the question? On the question, this is to help hopefully alleviate some of the issues the residents of 3rd Avenue have been having with truck traffic. This way, they'll only have to deal with it going, with traffic going one way and not both ways. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution accepting a donation presented to the city of Scranton from 9/11 Memorial Committee of Lackawanna County in the amount of $145 to purchase a sign that will be used to dedicate the 1800 block of Rosen Court in memory of Walter A. Pasek.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second,
On the question? All those in favor of an introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, file of the council number 63, 2021, an ordinance amending file of the council number 41, 2020, entitled, amending file of the council number 11, 1976, entitled, an ordinance as amended, enacting, imposing a tax for general revenue purposes in the amount of 2% on earned income and net profits on persons, individuals, associations, and businesses who are residents of the city of Scranton or non-residents of the city of Scranton for work done, services performed, or business conducted within the city of Scranton, requiring the filing of returns by taxpayers subject to the tax, requiring employers to collect the tax at source, providing for the administration, collection, and enforcement of the said tax, and imposing penalties for the violations by reenacting the imposition of the wage tax at 2 4/10% on earned income for residents and 1% on earned income for non-residents of the city of Scranton for work done, services performed, or business conducted within the city of Scranton for the year 2021, and the same shall remain in full force and effect annually thereafter by extending the date that the taxes are due and owing for general revenue purposes on earned income from its original due date of April 15, 2021 to May 17, 2021, in conformity with the United States Treasury Department and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
6B, reading by title, file of the council number 64, 2021, an ordinance amending file of the council number 31, 2020, as amended, an ordinance authorizing the city of Scranton to approve the designation of the 300 block of Center Street as a one-way street from Penn Avenue towards Wyoming Avenue, with the Scranton Police Department to enforce the designations as reflected in the attached drawing C-4 Center Street parking, to change the direction of the one-way travel from Wyoming Avenue to Penn Avenue.
You've heard reading by title of item 6B. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that item 6B pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, previously tabled. 7B, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, file of the council number 61, 2021, creating Chapter 426 of the Home Rule Charter entitled Sexual Orientation or Gender Conversion Efforts.
I make a motion to amend item 7B in the following respects. First, the title of the proposed ordinance is to be deleted and replaced with the following title: an ordinance creating chapter 446 of the Code of the City of Scranton entitled Sexual Orientation and Gender Conversion Efforts. Secondly, the definition of conversion therapy as provided in section 446.01 and of the proposed ordinance shall be deleted and replaced with the following: conversion therapy, any practice or treatment that seeks to convert one's sexual orientation or gender identity or expression, including efforts to change behaviors or to eliminate or reduce sexual or romantic attractions or feelings towards individuals of the same sex. The term does not include practices or treatments that do not seek to change a person's sexual orientation or gender identity and that provide assistance to a person undergoing gender transition or that provide acceptance, support, and understanding of clients or facilitate clients' coping, social support, and identity exploration and development, including sexual orientation, neutral interventions to prevent or address unlawful conduct or unsafe sexual practices.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to amend item 7B. On the question?
On the question, I spoke to these changes in caucus, but I'll just reiterate quickly. The title we had incorrectly before is making a change to the Home Rule Charter when it's creating a chapter in the code. So that title was corrected by the amended version tonight. And then the definition of conversion therapy, we had received some guidance on just the sequencing of some of the words in the definition for conversion therapy. And we made that adjustment so just to strengthen the legislation to make sure that it's effective and enforceable. And then I don't know if Solicitor Hayes has anything to add to that.
No, Dr. Rothschild, I think you correctly summarized what was the purpose of the amendments.
Okay, thank you.
And then
Great.
guidance, where did the guidance come from?
A solicitor through national organization, the Trevor Project, which has been doing a lot of work on conversion therapy legislation in other states.
Okay, great. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it and so moved. As temporary chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B as amended.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question, I know that we've spoken to this piece of legislation before, but I just wanted to reiterate a few things quickly. I'm very proud to have brought this legislation forward to council. I'm really thankful to have the support of my colleagues as well as the mayor and her administration. We've had conversations about this piece over the past couple of months just to make sure that that it was a strong piece of legislation to bring forth to all. And I really think that any way that we can help out the LGBTQ youth that are in the Scranton community is going to be really beneficial to us. I think it's a great way to show that we support them and we won't stand for any of these practices. It is something that's still in existence today. There are surveys and studies that show that LGBTQ youth across the nation have experienced conversion therapy, and it's not just in rural communities. And a lot of people are surprised that it's still allowable legally, at least for minors to be subjected to this treatment. And so I think that it's doing our small part in helping to abolish such practices and to show the LGBTQ community that, that they are accepted and loved as they are. So that was, it's personal for me, and just really proud of this council tonight, and that I had the opportunity to bring this forward.
Great, thank you. Thank you for all the work you put forward on this. Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes. I hereby declare item 7B as amended, legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for adoption, Resolution number 149, 2021, amending Resolution number 80, 2020, as amended, entitled, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a road maintenance agreement between the City of Scranton and Lackawanna County for the paving, repair, snow plowing, signage, and any other maintenance duties as needed once the 300 block of Center Street has been designated one-way to reflect the change in the direction of the one-way travel from Wyoming Avenue to Penn Avenue in the revised maintenance agreement.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes. I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D, for consideration by the Committee on Community Development for adoption, Resolution number 150, 2021, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate officials of the City of Scranton to take all necessary actions to submit the consolidated annual performance evaluation report for community planning and development programs funded under the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Emergency Solutions Grants Program for the period of January 1, 2020 through December 31, 2020.
What is the recommendation for the chairperson for the Committee on Community Development?
As chair for the Committee on Community Development, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes. I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E, for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for adoption, Resolution number 151, 2021, accepting a donation presented to the City of Scranton Fire Department from Greg L. Sunday and Joan M. Sunday in the amount of $5,000 in memory of Scranton firefighter Stephen Sunday for the purchase of equipment.
What is the recommendation for the chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew,
Yes.
Dr. Rothchild,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes. I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted.
8th order, old business, nothing at this time.
If there is no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.